Hello everyone! Please remember to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming for the latest in Dragon Ball news and information. Also, please remember to turn on notifications if you want to see Bulma's titties.
Did Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter number 28 hint at the strongest God of Destruction having to be revealed during the Zen exhibition match? Who is the mortal in which not even a destroyer can defeat, and was he referenced or even hinted in him having to be revealed in any specific universe, especially after having to learn that Kitella from Universe 4 was the one who beat Beerus in arm wrestling during their little scuffle? But because of this outcome having to be revealed, does the mortal stem from Kitella's universe? On today's video, myself and members of the Dragon Ball community on my Discord are going to get together and share our thoughts and opinions as to who we believe the strongest Hakaishin may actually be between the 12 and where in fact this mortal may be housed in. And again, if you guys are new to this channel, I highly encourage you guys to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel in conjunction to news, information, and updates. Hashtag notification squad to be up to date with all the latest in Dragon Ball. Now I do want to go on ahead and take the time to welcome everyone in the Discord to this overall discussion, as we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter number 28 and the events that have occurred in the manga that directly affect what's happening in the anime now. So what I wanted to start off with right now here is I wanted to get Emish's thoughts. Emish, if you can hear me, I wanted to get your thoughts essentially on the gods of destruction having to battle against each other, because in the manga definitively there was never a scan nor any dialogue that hinted at anyone else within that group of 12 having to be superior than the other person. For example, many people are saying that perhaps maybe Beerus is the strongest Hakaishin that's among the other gods, and I feel like the reason why people are basing that piece of dialogue to what's happening in the manga is because of the way Beerus was avoiding and dodging the other gods' attacks and stuff. So what I wanted to get out of you is I wanted to get your thoughts on the god battle, and who do you believe, in your opinion, based on what we saw in the manga, is the strongest Hakaishin? Obviously the fight's not over, and carrying on from there, I also wanted to get your take on Kitella being the one that beat Beerus in arm wrestling, as I do believe, for me, it makes sense, you know, having to look at what's happening right now in the anime and Beerus and Kitella having major problems with each other. Obviously, I mean, their story predates for perhaps millions of years because they do have a history, cat and mouse kind of thing. So what's your take on the gods? Who do you believe is the strongest Hakaishin? And what are your overall thoughts on the, you know, the rivalry that Kitella and Beerus have? And do you believe that, as many people out there suggested, that the mortal that happens to be stronger than a quote-unquote Hakaishin happens to be housed in Universe 4, or do you believe it's another fighter that's housed somewhere else? So quick thoughts on manga chapter number 28, and just your thoughts on the gods and the whole situation with Kitella and Beerus.
Well, the chapter overall is great. A lot of information, a lot of dialogue, which is I think something that the anime lacks. But going into the first question is, one, I think first impressions matter. So when you first see a character, performing a certain way, especially Beerus, because in the anime, again, he's portrayed to be a lot softer, right? The anime overall is portrayed to be a lot softer. So the manga, when you see Beerus doing the things he's doing, you automatically classify him as either the strongest, if not a top tier god. Right. But I've always thought that the top 4 universes would house like the strongest gods overall, because based on their work, the work ethic alone requires them to train, it requires them to stay in shape, requires them to actually be active in the universe, as to what Beerus is essentially lazy. But the manga at the same time kind of portrays Beerus to be lazy because he's never really been pushed this far. Then they showcase where that Kitella, quote unquote, is stronger than him based on arm wrestling, right? And then we have this concept where Beerus replies by saying, well, I've never been defeated in combat. But then you got to kind of portray and take into consideration that Iwan, the furball, right? He kind of referenced that, oh, what a surprise, making us gods fight amongst each other, which kind of indicates that they've never done this before to this degree. Right. So then it's like you gotta consider, well, okay, it's safe to say they've never fought. The only tournament that they've had was a hide-and-seek tournament that Beerus essentially just trashed because he ended up going to sleep for 50 years. It created a lot of animosity between them and Beerus. Right, so that kind of signifies that either, more than likely, based on that dialogue, right, that they have not fought before, at least amongst each other to that degree. So, based on first impressions, I can agree and understand why people would classify Beerus to be the strongest amongst them. However, based on raw physical strength, maybe not so much. I'd probably give it to Moscow. Based on his, overall brute strength, then if not, I would probably say overall combat strength does matter. So overall, if you want to look at the overall quality of the character, I got to give it to Beerus because I'm going to fanboy Beerus based on what I saw regardless.
Right.
But I also feel like because Beerus is the Universe 7 Hakaishin, they're going to give him the spotlight early on, primarily in this chapter, but maybe in chapter 29, somebody else might take the spotlight going forward. Now to talk about the whole mortal concept, I think it's okay to assume or to theorize that the mortal comes from there.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to do that. And there's a couple reasons. One, because obviously the person who's supervising the manga, right, is aware as to what was said in the anime, and even then still added that into the manga, right? And going forward, it's like, well, the manga is clearly taking a different direction in terms of how the story is being told, which, by the way, is making the anime look like complete ass, right? Because the anime, it just feels rushed.
It's more detailed too in the manga.
Yeah,
heavily detailed.
Insanely more detailed. So because of that, we have not the mortal, but we have this arm wrestling match being mentioned before even the Tournament of Power, before Goku even asked Whis what their chances are.
Yeah.
That's one. As to where in the anime it was portrayed where Goku asks Whis what their chances are. Then they kind of hint at this rivalry between Beerus and another Hakaishin, though in the anime it's referenced sometimes that, even Beerus himself says, me and that guy, we're not on good terms. Me and that guy, we're not good with each other. And then Katella even goes to hint that, oh, Beerus himself is talking about teamwork. That's interesting coming from him. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's no backstory, but the manga gives you that backstory. So if the anime doesn't tell you guys what needs to be known, right? For example, a backstory for a character, the concept of why Beerus is not, on good terms with other Hakaishin, you have to go to the manga because the manga tells you that.
It explains
black and
why,
white.
Yeah.
But is it fair to assume that this mortal comes from Universe 4? No, because based on market value, based on what's being portrayed, every piece of information. We just recently got information about Daemon and these other two fighters from Universe 4.
Yes.
Beerus just literally noticed that these two fighters weren't there, right? Like, where are they? When the Daishinkan announced them in the most recent episode.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now they're just being thrown into the mix. I think I wouldn't put, again, don't take, you can quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. I wouldn't put it past them for them to fuck up the end of the tournament by just having a fucking Ninkata, be the strongest mortal in existence, be beyond God level, right? I wouldn't put it past them based on what we got from the Merge Zamasu thing. You always got to refer to that. If they'll do it once, they'll do it again. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair, or I wouldn't advise you guys to use what's said in the manga, especially before the tournament started, right? Way before the tournament's even been confirmed. There's no rules yet. The rules have not been confirmed yet in the manga, okay? The fighters have not been confirmed in the manga. No recruitment process. None of that has been confirmed, okay? So because of that, I would say that, yes, it's okay to assume, based on the fact that they knowingly, based on what was said in the anime, they still mentioned it in the manga. But we gotta wait to see who's recruited. If Goku asks Whis that question, and if Whis mentions that character first, then we can say, okay, looks like Daemon or somebody, a bug, an insect, is beyond God level. So
see, that would throw a lot of people off guard, because everyone, including myself, my opinion stands that I do believe that the mortal that happens to be possibly stronger than the god is Jiren, because it obviously points to that as of right now. I mean, just looking at what's going to happen in the next couple of episodes, it's insane.
Yeah.
And my opinion is that I think it's Jiren, whereas opposed to many other people are disagreeing and saying, well, it could be somebody else that we don't see coming, or maybe it's an exempt fighter from one of the other universes that aren't competing. So I wanted to get Leo, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but Leo, I wanted to get your take on this, if you can unmute your mic. I wanted to get your take on, in your opinion, who you believe is the strongest god that we've seen in the manga thus far, because obviously Emish believes that it's Beerus based on what we've seen and know about him as a character. And I wanted to also get your thoughts on the mortal that happens to be stronger than the Hakaishin. Do you believe it's complete BS and that maybe, Whis is kind of like just using that to motivate Goku? Or is it like an actual fact to where there's somebody out there, whether it be an exempt fighter or someone in this tournament, that happens to be stronger than a Hakaishin? So, and also, I wanted to welcome you onto the channel for the first time. So what's your take on all of this going forward?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the mortal thing first.
Okay.
I think it's actually possible that the mortal isn't necessarily stronger than a Hakaishin. We said that a god of destruction couldn't defeat them, but that could be because of some unique ability they had that just prevents them from being able to lose a fight somehow.
Okay.
Like, if you took like someone like Hit with his intangibility, imagine if he could just do that eternally. Champa wouldn't be able to beat him.
Right.
So it could be something like that, where rather than being stronger than a Hakaishin, they have some kind of ability that makes them really difficult to defeat.
Right.
As for the strongest god in the manga, they really are trying to make it look like it is Beerus, because like sort of like how it was with Goku and the freaking blue fox man. I can't remember his
Bergamo, right?
That one. How Grand Priest told, Goku and them not to hold back. If they did, fuck you, get out of here.
Yeah, get erased. Yeah.
They said the same thing to all of the gods when they started fighting. And all of them rush Beerus, and he doesn't get like bodied immediately, and he can actually kind of fight them off.
That's scary, bro.
And something I noticed in the scene with the Moscow thing after he got out, something that I didn't notice until I reread the chapter, no one knew that it was Champa who was in the air instead of Beerus until they got up there. None of them knocked him up there. That means Beerus got out of the way of the attack from the other three, and before anyone else on the battlefield noticed, knocked Champa into the air and hid under Moscow's arm without anyone seeing him.
You have a point. Yeah, that's how quick he was. Very, 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 very true.
And then, like, he throws that one ki blast, and Seedra's barrier does block it, but then you have Jean, who's just like, Seedra, you just saved us all.
Right, but then you got people like Belmont or Vermouth who comes in and he kicks Seedra in the face, and there's something about him, I think, that's a bit more ominous.
I do think that Vermouth is probably one of the stronger gods of destruction, but Jean was like, yeah, if you didn't block that blast, I was out. Like, he knew that attack would have at least have beaten him, even if he doesn't know exactly how strong the other gods are. Beerus was about to one-shot at least one god of destruction with that attack.
I agree, but what you're saying definitively is that, in your opinion, you believe that it's Beerus who happens to be possibly the strongest. Okay, I mean, for me, I'm gonna have to agree, but to an extent to where I think that Belmont, there's something with Belmont that I think that in the manga he is, because the way he's being portrayed in the manga is very sinister and completely different than how we saw in the anime. In the anime, he cares about his pride troopers and stuff, which is cool, but from a character standpoint, it's like he had no development. But as opposed to here, you're all supposed to be working together in a sense to where he turns his back on the gods and saying, well, whoever said we're only targeting Beerus alone? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So now, going forward, I would like to make the assumption that maybe in manga chapter number 29, they're all gonna fight together, like just as individuals. But in referencing going back to the mortal concept, would you say, in your opinion, it's someone from Universe 11, Universe 4, the other universes that are exempt, or is it complete BS in your opinion?
I feel like if it was actually meant as kind of like a warning to Goku, we wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't someone that was actually participating in the tournament. So I don't think it's one of the exempt universes, because he knows how Goku is. We kind of see it with Jiren, how Goku, when he saw Jiren, immediately went to try to go fight like him and Toppo. Goku wanted to fight the strongest dudes immediately. Whis is smart enough to know that, their strongest fighter shouldn't be wasting his energy so early in the tournament. So I don't think he'd bring it up, because he know Goku would recklessly go after this person, even if he had no chance of winning.
So, can I just add one thing to the whole,
go ahead.
This whole mortal, for example, the manga, one major flaw when you try to correspond that to what's being said in the anime is that in the manga, Zeno specifically talks about it himself, that, and the Daishin comment is that universes 1 and 12 are in the lead as far as the mortal ranking level.
Yes.
And then we can assume, based on what he said in the context, that the other universes either A, have not improved, or either went down in mortal level. So we could assume that means for 5 and 8 may have went down in mortal level. And in the manga, like I said, we haven't gotten to that point where the exempted universes are even mentioned. However, it's safe to assume that it'll be 1, 12, 5, and 8 in that order. 1 and 12 being the highest, 5 and 8 following afterwards. And then going forward, the rest of them have to fight and stuff like that. So we also have to see what direction they take. What universes are mentioned. I'm imagining it to be universes 1, 12, 5, and 8 still. It's just that the way it's contexted, the way that it's formatted in the manga, kind of portrays that, okay, well, we don't even know who's going to be exempt from the tournament. We don't even know for sure if all of the universes are going to fight or participate in the tournament, because the Daishinga goes on to mention, well, because they ask him, well, are we going to have to fight too? And he says, well, you are representatives of your universes, so it only makes sense that you guys fight. And hence there's an exhibition match in the manga is amongst the gods, as to where in the anime, it was, well, fodder. Universe 9, and then we have Bergamo, we had, Gohan, Majin Buu, etc., etc.
Oh, no, we're definitely going to get a very interesting turn of events that are going to be much different than how we saw in the tournament so far, because for all we know, there might be another universe eliminated first, other than 9 perhaps. But I wanted to go to Raging. I don't know if you can hear me, Raging. What are your thoughts on the Gods of Destruction? And I wanted to get your thoughts on the mortal concept. So if you can hear me, Raging, unmute your mic. Just your overall feedback on, because a lot of people in here, based on what Emish and Leo are saying, that perhaps maybe it's Beerus that's the strongest, but in your opinion, Would you say it's Beerus in terms of strength and in terms of like being the top tier god among the other 11, or do you believe it's somebody else perhaps? And your overall thoughts on the mortal concept, and if you believe that this mortal that Whis was referencing in the anime comes from either one of the fighters in the tournament now, or someone that's not being shown that's going to be possibly revealed later, or just like I said earlier, is it complete BS just to motivate Goku in your opinion? What do you think?
Well, first, thank you for having me on. And
Always.
I would say that Beerus, in my opinion at least, would be the strongest Hakaishin, just for what we saw in the manga. They're building him up to be this badass Hakaishin, at least, to say the most. Is like he was battling all the Hakaishin, and it even got to the point where, like Leo said, that where Sidra had to put up his barrier, where Jin said, "Oh my God, you saved us," just proving, like, I guess a casual blast would obliterate all the Hakaishin, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that to me means like Beerus is at least one of the top Hakaishins, or probably the top Hakaishin in my opinion at least. And about the mortal thing, I want to believe it's false. Just like how we hyped up Monaka, because like back in the Universe 6 arc, I think they were building up Monaka, and Monaka was like
just uses motivation.
Fucking weak. Yeah, he was like so scrawny. We wouldn't expect anything from him, and we didn't. But he was hyped up. So at this part, at least, I want to believe that Whis is hyping up this mortal like how we got hyped back then.
So it's complete BS in your opinion.
Hopefully, at least, because I just can't imagine a mortal is stronger than 2 Hakaishins, or if it's stronger than Beerus, that's like generally the majority of all Hakaishins. And I can't imagine.
Right. Because according to you, you believe that since he's the strongest, it's like if you surpass Beerus, then you practically surpass everyone. And I can see that to an extent, but why would they even want to hype this whole thing up just to lie to Goku? Because you know he's bound to ask, like, who was it? And just for Whis to be like, well, it was nobody the whole time, which would kind of, you know, in a nutshell be a little cliche. But I wanted to go down to Senzu. Senzu, if you can hear me, unmute your mic. I wanted to ask you your thoughts. Who is the strongest god? A lot of people in here believe it's Beerus, just based on what he did. Your thoughts on the god battle. Who do you believe is the strongest? And also in terms of like the whole mortal concept, who is it? Is it Jiren? Is it the 2 guys that are hidden in Universe 4? Is it somebody that we don't know about? What's your overall take on that?
Well, thank you for having me first, Alex.
Always.
And for the strongest god of destruction, firstly, I'd say we can't say who's the strongest. I don't think there's enough yet, but I can tell you who isn't the strongest, okay?
Okay, so who isn't the strongest then?
Right, so we got Sidra.
Sidra, okay.
Yeah, Champa.
Okay, well, yeah, he didn't train for a while, okay.
So those 3, we can say, aren't the strongest gods of destruction just because of their performance in the fight. Now, as for the strongest mortal, yet again, I'd say we don't have enough information to go off, but I do actually think it's hinting towards Jiren just because the Kaioken had 20 limit-breaking form. So that's who I think the strongest mortal is. But just tell you what I think's best about this manga chapter. I think it's the portrayal of Zeno, because in the anime he's portrayed as kind of a brat, quite stupid, but in this chapter he's shown playing chess, actually talking actively about the universes, how they're getting on, and then he's the one in the chapter who actually makes the jump to go about erasing 8 universes. It kind of shows him as more of a god, a more powerful being, rather than kind of stupid and an underling in a way to like the Daishinkan, because in the anime he's kind of shown as the Daishinkan making all the decisions, whereas Zeno is kind of just going along with it. This is kind of giving Zeno a lot more personality, showing him as actually the big god, you know, the god with the big G.
Right. So essentially you're not giving an opinion as to who the strongest is because we haven't seen much, but you're saying that you don't think it's definitely going to be Sidra, Champa, or any of these dudes. As I said before, in my opinion, I think that we have to look after Belmont. He is getting ready to retire, and I think, if anything, that would make him one of the oldest gods of destruction, just judging based on how long he's been in that position. And in your opinion, you also believe that it's possibly Jiren, which again, it's like, a lot of people tend to forget, man, like, yo, he's gonna truck a Kaioken times 20. That's terrifying. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens following that. So Mufasa, I don't know if you can hear me, Mufasa. Again, I wanted to get your take on the gods. Who do you believe is the strongest? What's your take on the mortal concept? And your thoughts on manga chapter number 28 as a whole?
All right, well, I love the chapter. It's been the coolest one to me so far, and It's been the only one to make me really, really want to start following the manga and find how the hell to get the English versions online. I feel like Beerus he's got to be top tier. Not necessarily the strongest, but overall with his strength, his speed, his smarts, his skill, he's right up there. They portray him being sharper and outwitting the other gods. And so to me, it just shows that he's up there. But we also have other gods that we haven't really seen a lot of. So to say the strongest is kind of pushing it, but he's definitely top tier. Then we have the mortal who cannot be defeated by the gods. I think the guy who said it might be like a catch to it might be right, but I'm kind of split because I feel kind of like you do, it has to be Jiren. I mean, when you think about during the fight with Toppo, the first fight with Toppo, they talked about Goku having power that could rival the gods. Not necessarily being as strong as a god, but just rivaling it. So when you think about that, how far back that was, and the fact that Goku goes Kaioken 20 and it's still not enough to even face Jiren.
Right.
That's insane power that Jiren has. So I'm with you. I think Jiren is the mortal that cannot be defeated by the gods.
See, the concept behind that is a lot of people want to take that and say, well, if Jiren is the person that a god cannot defeat, it's like, well, where does that put that? Like, where does this put the gods? Essentially, like, if you want to rank the pecking order. And I still don't believe that the gods are scrubs. A lot of people are looking at them like, oh yeah, once Goku breaks his limits, he's gonna tank all of them. No, until that happens, then we can just make the claim to say that. But the only reason why I'm saying, in my opinion, it's Jiren is because the way they're building him, it's a very similar build to the way they built up Hit during the Champa arc. Very quiet, very subtle. Hit never opened his eyes, not even during any fight until he had to step in. He opened his eyes a couple of times to watch Super Saiyan Blue and stuff, but aside from that, he had no interest. And then when it came down to him fighting, we saw what happened. I mean, practically speaking, he won the fight. Goku, wrung himself out, but and he was actually capable enough to withstand Kaioken times 10. And now looking at the way they're building Jiren, it's like it's almost like in a similar matter. So, Daz, I don't know if you're here or not, Daz. If you can unmute your mic, I wanted to get your take on this because many other people believe that perhaps it's Beerus, perhaps it's somebody else. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Daz. So if you can unmute your mic, because you're saying you're just listening, but I just want to get a quick answer from you. Who's the strongest god? And just quickly, if you can, let me know about your thoughts on the mortal. And if you can't, then I'm gonna jump to Sinister, because Sinister always has something great to say. So Sinister, if you can hear me, you can please unmute your mic and let me know your thoughts on the Hakaishin. Who do you believe is the strongest? And your overall thoughts on the mortal concept as to who do you believe is the mortal, because a lot of us think that it's Jiren, some of us believe it's BS, other people say it's somebody else. So what's your take on this, Sinister?
Alright. So as for who the strongest Hakaishin is, I believe that it's either Beerus or Belmont, just like half the people in here said. Based on the fact that Beerus, he was using what Whis, the the automatic reaction stuff that Whis taught Beerus.
Moving without thinking, yeah.
Goku and Vegeta.
Right.
He used that, and apparently the other Hakaishin don't know that. So based off of that, it already puts Beerus on the level above the other Hakaishin, even though they're in the same tier, or they're all Hakaishin. But like he's on the tier above them, basically. And we see Belmont casually just wrecking Seadra after Seadra saving Jean and stuff from Beerus because Beerus is too strong. You see Beerus like one-shotting Chopper all the way into the sky. And they believe that's Beerus because of how fast he got knocked up.
Yeah, Leo brought up a good point. I mean, he was so quick, bro. He threw Chopper in there before anybody can even understand what happened.
Yeah, and he also led them to wrecking that robot god of destruction. I forgot his name. Yeah. So basically, they're showcasing Beerus as being the top dog among the Hakaishin.
Okay, I mean that's understandable, I guess.
Yeah, until we see otherwise, I'm gonna have to go with Beerus.
Okay. And about the mortal, is it Jiren? Is it perhaps someone from Universe 4? Is it someone that is gonna be kept for later, or is it complete BS in your opinion?
Ooh. I mean, look back in the Black Arc, something that nobody's brought up yet. People said Goku Black was originally Zamasu, right? And then DBS came out with some other stuff, and they led the fans to believe that it was Gawasu or somebody else, and that Black wasn't Zamasu. And then the next episode, they come right around and say they confirmed that Black was Zamasu. They basically did the same way with Jiren. When they introduced a mortal that's stronger than the god, or not stronger than the god, but can't be defeated, we all looked at Jiren, right? And then now they're talking about Universe 4 this, Universe 4 that, blah, blah, blah. Cutella beating Beerus in the arm wrestling match, blah, blah, blah. So basically, they're trying to throw us off from believing that Jiren is that mortal. Okay. Now we're not looking at him anymore. But when it all comes down to it, we look back at Jiren, and then we see what he's doing now. And even still, people are saying that the mortal is in Universe 4. But until... Wait, no. If I believe if the mortal is in Universe 4, where has he been this whole entire time? Like, if he's so powerful...
The thing is, would that fit the narrative of the story? Because a lot of us are expecting that fight with Goku to be intense, right? So here comes another person that hasn't been shown yet, and he happens to blow away both Jiren and Goku. Would you, from a writing standpoint, say that it makes sense for us to be duped in believing that, oh, it was Jiren, but then in fact it's someone else? Or do you think that would be a complete ass pull in your opinion? I mean, because it's Dragon Ball Super, bro. There's been a lot of ass pulls.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I believe it would kind of be an ass pull, but at the same time, the element of surprise would be good, but the fans wouldn't like it because they'll be like, where was he the whole time? Just like the appearance of Super Saiyan Guy. That was random, so yeah, this would be an ass pull.
Okay, so you're saying with Beerus based on experience, because obviously he's the only person we've seen in Dragon Ball that's been relevant in terms of the gods and doing something other than Champa. And as for the mortal, you're saying that it's probably hinted that it is Jiren, just based on what they're giving us, but then at the same time, you're kind of on the fence because even Whis was like, yo, Universe 4 fighters, I heard they have special abilities and they can strike at any pivotal moment. So, Mufasa, you had something to say. Do you want to add to that right now?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to say that the manga actually portrays why the universes are failing and how lazy and vain they are. Like they have human or mortal-like flaws, and when you couple that with the fact that Toppo is already training to be a Hakaishin in place of Vermouth, but he himself states that if you can't handle me, you definitely can't handle my nigga Jiren. It kind of shows how, for all we know, Jiren might have been offered a position a long time ago and just for whatever moral reasons of his own decides not to take a spot as a Hakaishin.
Okay, I mean, because I'm telling you right now, and Emish may disagree a lot, Toppo's gonna be something, yo, at least in the manga, because I mean, come on, you gotta give him credit on that one. Hashtag hope for Toppo. But I want to go to Danny. Danny316, if you can hear me, bro, unmute your mic real fast. I want to get your thoughts on, just quickly, your thoughts on the Gods of Destruction. Is it Beerus? Do you want to agree with everyone in saying it's Beerus? Do you believe it's somebody else? Do you want to be different in saying it's somebody else? And your thoughts on this mysterious individual. Where does he come from? Is it Jiren? Because believe it or not, for anyone out there watching, this man, Danny, has said before, and a lot of people laughed at him, he believed that, judging based on what Jiren is and how he's being portrayed, Danny believes that Jiren can solo this entire tournament by himself. I don't know if people agree or disagree with his statements on that, but what are your thoughts on this mortal? And if you believe that it is Jiren, do you still stand by that opinion that you believe that Jiren can still solo this entire tournament by himself? What do you think?
Well, on the topic of the gods, I think that from the top tier of who's the strongest and who's the weakest, there's a clear gap between them. But I think they're all on a similar level. I think what put Beerus above everybody else is that he's the most skilled of the gods.
Would you say experience?
He's the strongest. I think he's the most skilled fighter of all the gods.
Skilled, but not strongest, right?
Yeah, okay. I think his skill will put him above the other gods who may be lazier, but may be stronger than him. And I do think Jiren is the mortal.
Okay, so you definitely think he's the mortal.
Yeah, out of everything we've seen from him, everything that's happened, I think it would be a letdown at this point if he wasn't.
Oh, okay. But would you still say he solos this entire tournament by himself?
Yeah, most people in it, everybody except for maybe Goku and Vegeta, who may give him a tad bit of trouble.
A tad bit,
Side
but looking at it from an overall standpoint, it's like you would place him above everybody else other than possibly Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah, I mean, look at what's in the tournament. You have the girls from Universe 2 that are just weird.
Yeah.
You have the useless robots from 3.
Yeah.
The fodder from 4. It's just there's nobody there above. I mean, there's just nobody there that could possibly rival him except for 2 people, being Goku and Vegeta.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I want to jump to Dorian. Dorian, if you can hear me, you can unmute your mic. Again, I wanted to get your quick thoughts on the gods and who do you believe is the mortal, because obviously a lot of people in here have a lot of different things to say. So your thoughts on that and your thoughts on the manga chapter as a whole.
Well, I think it's probably... I don't think it's anybody, to be honest with you, because Whis has been lying to Goku and Vegeta in the past just to motivate them. And considering that that Beerus is like just like not toying, but he's not toying them, but like all the gods like can't touch him in the manga. I don't know who will be in the manga, probably Universe 4, but in the anime, I think it's probably nobody.
But I mean, but look, all right. So you're saying that from the whole mortal standpoint, you're saying that it's BS. Whis is lying to motivate Goku, because obviously you don't want to tell him who it is, because like Leo said, it's like Goku has that tendency to ignore everything and charge towards that person. But in terms of the gods, you're like, are you saying that it's Beerus perhaps, or maybe Katella? Because Katella even said to Beerus, "Why don't you just admit that I'm stronger?" And Beerus was like, "No, you beat me in arm wrestling, but not in a one-on-one like combat like situation." So would you say that it is Katella who happens to be stronger than most other gods, or would you still stand by saying it's Beerus? What's your take on that in terms of who is the strongest god among the 12 fighting?
It really depends on who will win in like a combat situation, because Katella only beat him in an arm wrestle. Like, remember that.
Right.
But like since they're sparring, like the only evidence we have is like Beerus is like just taking out everybody pretty much. So I don't really know who it is right now, but like the safe guess will be Katella. But like if you're going off right now, most likely be Beerus.
Okay. I want to go down to Gohan. Gohan, if you can hear me, you can unmute your mic, bro. I want to get your thoughts on the gods, your thoughts on the mortals. Who do you believe it is? And hopefully enough you can hear me, Gohan, so you can unmute your mic now. If not, I'm going to jump to somebody else. So what's your take on the Hakaishin? Who is the strongest? And your thoughts on the mortal?
I think Beerus is the strongest, and I think Jiren is not the mortal.
He's not the... Why would you say he's not?
He's really strong, but I don't think if it was the strongest mortal, wouldn't it just shit stop everybody, And I don't go deep into Dragon Ball Super, but yeah.
Okay.
I don't
so
think
it's Beerus, but it's not Jiren.
Yeah, it can't be Jiren. I don't think so. I need more proof that it's Jiren from him fighting,
Okay. I mean, again, for me, I just think that Beerus is the most experienced. It's clear as day. It's kind of hard to say that he's the strongest. But Leo, I think Leo had something to add on here. Leo, you can unmute your mic, bro. If you have something to add quickly, just what's your take on what's being said right now?
Okay, so this is more or less kind of a prediction of what's going to happen in the next chapter with like the gods of destruction fighting. You know how the Grand Priest mentioned that there's like some sort of reward for whichever god of destruction lasts the longest or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that Beerus and Vermood might actually tie, and that's when we get Goku fighting Topo. Because I feel like they still have Topo there for a reason, and we have to have Goku fight Topo in order to hype up Jiren.
Yes, that makes. I mean, because in the manga we're gonna get possibly Mastered Super Saiyan Blue having to fight Topo, and then definitively, if that's the case, Topo made the reveal. It's like Jiren's like way beyond that. So like that's terrifying, because as Emish said before, Mastered Super Saiyan Blue in the manga is like the equivalent, I guess, to Kaioken in the anime, because we haven't seen Kaioken ever in the manga. So that puts Goku ahead of many other characters. But I definitely agree with what you're saying, because that's a huge possibility, and if that comes into fruition, bro, you're gonna get a lot of credit for that, because I haven't heard that said before. I heard people say that maybe it's gonna be some sort of like an elimination process order to where people are just gonna get thrown out the ring and stuff. I doubt that, but like you said, it might come down to Vermood and Beerus, having to tie it up, and then it's like, okay, Goku versus Topo next. So I want to open the floor to everybody right now. Just for closing comments, if anyone has something different to say, if anyone has any other alternate opinion as to who's the strongest god, because every single video that I've seen, everyone seems to be pointing at Beerus, which I understand why, because, I mean, come on, bro, just because he avoided a few attacks, you know, it's very impressive, but does that really mean he's the strongest? I wouldn't say so. So, and in terms of the mortal, as you guys heard, a lot of you guys share different opinions, so I want to open up the floor to everybody in here. If you guys have any, you know, final comments to add in terms of what your beliefs are for the manga chapter and your thoughts on that, now's your chance to say something. So if anyone wants to say something, now's your chance.
Yeah, I'm just the strongest mortal.
Jiren is still only 1/1,000,000th of 1% of Beerus's power.
That's scary.
Vermood is the iceberg slim of the gods of destruction.
Nah, actually, it's Master.
I'm telling you right now, man. I still feel like something's up with Vermood. They're not gonna showcase him the way they did, just to have him get, like, you know, humiliated.
I think they might just be using Vermood as like a means to just get the fight with the gods of destruction to just be more chaotic. Like he's kind of breaking up their little teamwork against Beerus. I don't know how that will really affect things, considering Beerus could kind of hold his own while getting like ganked by all of them.
Yeah.
He might kind of be not helping himself here. Beerus might actually be, you know, I mean, for all we know, Beerus is the only one there who can actually give him a fight. Same thing for like vice versa. So I guess we'll see how he plans to do this.
Whoa. I just realized something. We haven't seen Liquor fight.
Well, no, he's in there. He's in there.
Yeah, but
he threw like a punch at Beerus that Beerus dodged.
Yeah.
I believe until otherwise, I'm gonna go by alcoholic content, and with that theory, Jin would be the strongest.
Jin. Okay.
Yep.
Why? So you said
Because
that's different.
all of the gods of destructions are all alcohol beverages, and the reason why obviously champagne is stronger than beer, but Champa's very lazy.
Yes.
So that would be the reason why Beerus is actually stronger than Champa. But besides that, if you go along all of the orders of all the gods, then Jin would be the strongest.
So
I think you're using the anime
because Jin is the strongest alcohol.
He's basically saying like,
Liquor's pretty strong too.
Yeah, he's basically saying like however strong the alcohol is how
the alcohol is.
But what if it's what the way we're seeing it in the manga with Jean actually about to be getting one-shotted by Beerus, it could actually be the other way around because Beerus pretty weak in terms of alcohol content, but Beerus is out here making Jin kind of look like fodder.
I get you.
So this theory that if there's another type of alcohol that's stronger than any alcohol in these fucking gods, is gonna be stronger, right? So that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the anime shows Jin to be portrayed very just different as opposed to how he's being portrayed in the manga. Like, because obviously he could have fought, but he was like, no, I don't want to, because you already know what the outcome is going to be, right? So that kind of for many months people were saying, because I've seen tons of videos after he made that comment, people were saying, oh, he's the strongest god, when there's no definitive evidence to even support that narrative, at least as of right now, which is why in the manga I feel like as we see more of him fight, then we can get some sort of like definitive conclusion for that.
That's true.
I think that whole line in the anime was just him saying, yeah, the ring's gonna get broken, we're gonna be the ones to fix it. He wasn't really strength at all.
I don't believe so.
Nah, I don't think
on the anime, the way they portrayed it, they definitely were trying to hint at something, and I would say just from the anime's perspective that Jin was trying to be portrayed as the strongest straight off the bat.
I mean, at least as the strongest of those four there.
Definitely.
Just because he said he's the stronger doesn't mean. Might be just a little bit cocky or something, but it doesn't mean he's just until we see him fight, which we never saw even in the manga or the anime.
I definitely think that Leo's up to up to something good, because if you look at what's gonna happen in the upcoming chapter, they're all gonna fight, and I think that he's onto something with Beerus and Vermood, because obviously Toppo's there and Goku's there, so we've seen what happened in the anime, so they're gonna have to replicate that in some way, shape, or form. But I do want to thank everybody in here for joining me for this discussion. There are gonna be loads of different comments, being shared in reflection to your comments. So I do want to say, if you guys agree with some of us or disagree with some of us, let us know down below. Again, everyone in here had a different opinion, which is cool, because if we all had the same opinion, it would have been kind of boring to say, okay, well, we all believe that it's this guy or that guy. So everyone thought that, most people thought that Whis was lying, or it's Jiren, or it's one of the other exempt fighters and stuff. So thank you all so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, slap a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, guys, because YouTube is drunk. That way you guys can be notified whenever a video is posted onto this channel. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.